then finally, how about them Cowboys? Not so fast Freddie Jackson going down with another injury. Mark, what's the deal, man? You kind of feel bad for him because, I mean, look who he has throwing him the ball.
Right.
Yeah, I think I could throw him the ball.
Must-win game.
He's calling it right now. Week 3 must-win game, or else he might have to wear that thing. That's right. That is the Dairy Boys loser's helmet.
You know, I got a little, something there. Like I want to take this guy down.
A little bit of a rivalry here.
It's a little rivalry, you know. I mean, he's been a division rival.
Well, we came up with a name for it now.
Yes.
This segment of the show is called Fat Sal's of the Week. These are the players that you played, and they just underperformed.
This, I'm coming for you, and I want to take you down. So get ready, Gooch. I'm coming for you this week.
I guess I don't have to ask how you feel.
I feel good.
I feel bad because I sort of talked you into playing him.
Welcome to Dairy Boys Live. I'm your host, Danny Ferry, and alongside me we have 2011 league champion, the Steel Curtain. How's it going, Tom?
Good.
Good to have you on the show today. Let's jump right into our top story, which is Team Titan upsets Semper Fi by the score 175.5 to 125.7. Tom, let's get right into the recap of that game. What's your thoughts on Semper Fi, the league's top scorer coming into this week, getting beat by Team Titan?
Well, I think it was a shock to everyone because Team Titan really hasn't done much so far this year. But he had a lot of guys step up at the right time, I guess you would say, and pulled it out.
Yeah, and Semper Fi, after 2 good weeks of scoring, 190 points, only puts out 125 points in production. Meanwhile, Team Titan doubles his output from last week. Again, he did have a 10-point deduction due to waiver wire violation, but he was able to overcome that and get the victory. For Semper Fi, you have to look at this as almost disheartening because much like Bleed Green last year, who had the most points in the league, Semper Fi is just not getting victories out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tough. Like you said, Bleed Green went through the same thing all year last year, but hopefully Semper Fi can straighten it out sooner than later.
Yeah, and it's good for Team Titan to get off the schneid after an 0-2 start. He gets his first victory. A lot of key contributors. One of them, Joe Flacco, scores 43.7. Good game for Team Titan. Semper Fi, we'll find out next week how he bounces back from a devastating loss like that. Let's go to what we considered to be the game of the week last week, which was Running Mad versus Killer Pitts, and this one could be farther from the truth. Tom, if you remember, we said last week on the show that we thought whoever won between Cam Newton and Robert Griffin would win this game. That's completely false, as Robert Griffin got the better of the two last week, scoring 31 points to Cam Newton's 13 points. Tom, what's your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, if you look at the box scores through the week there, you would think Killer Pitts would have won this game, being that Cam Newton and Tony Romo both put up terrible fantasy numbers this week. But then you have AJ Green, who also put up 9 catches for 183 yards and a touchdown, which kind of helps out when you have poor quarterback play. I mean,
yeah, I agree with you there. And Larry Fitzgerald finally showed up, putting 26.4 up. If you remember last year, he did the same thing when he played against Philadelphia. It seems like if he wants to get well, that's the team he gets well against. Great performance by A.J. Green in this matchup. You got to wonder where Vincent Jackson and Antonio Gates were. And again, if Vincent Jackson's not doing well, it seems like neither is Josh Freeman. So those two kind of go hand in hand. Moving on with another game from last week, we got Team Piranha versus Eagles Danny. Team Piranha was able to give me my first loss. Thanks, Jared. This final score, 193.56 to 160.8. Tom, what's your thoughts on this game?
I don't know. Like, it's kind of surprising because it's another game where like there was poor quarterback play from Phillip Rivers, like which is normally like your top point getter would be your two quarterbacks, and he only racked up 5.73 points. So right there, you would think that would be enough for like a sure loss
Absolutely.
for a guy that should be getting at least 25 to 30 a week. And I mean, he still pulled it out. I mean, when you have guys like Jamal Charles putting up 233 yards total
Yeah.
for 50 points, basically, I mean, it's kind of tough to.
Yeah, that was
Contend with
disheartening to watch that as Jamal Charles put up 47.8 points fantasy-wise. Ray Rice put up 26. I mean, the running backs in this game for Team Piranha
I mean, they just
carried him right to a victory.
because Jamal Charles put up more points than your two running backs combined. I
Yeah.
mean, that right there kind of.
If you look at it, he could have put. I think he put up more than my running backs and my receivers combined.
Did he?
That's kind of embarrassing.
Well, yeah, close to it. I mean, but what are the chances of that happening again?
I guess
mean,
we'll find out next week, won't
yeah.
we?
I mean, that's tough when you have a guy putting up that many points.
Moving on, if you remember last week in this show, how about them Cowboys? Guaranteed victory, and that he would not be the last team
think-
without a win.
You think he'll be guaranteeing any victories again?
I don't know. We'll find out a little bit later on. But in this one, talk about quarterback play a little bit, Tom. Ben Roethlisberger and Ryan Fitzpatrick puts up 83 combined points. What's your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, here we go again. Like every game, it sounds like a broken record, but I mean, quarterback play in a two-quarterback league, that pretty much makes or breaks you. And when you have your two quarterbacks put up like 85 points combined, I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty well. You're going to be tough to beat. I mean, because nobody else on his team really went off. They were all consistent, like 10 points, 11 points, 16 points, with the exception of Baltimore's defense, only gave him 4. But I mean, when you have two guys going off like that and the rest of your team plays consistent, you're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I just want to get your thoughts on Mark sitting Darren McFadden and playing Michael Bush, kind of in his place. I don't think you take out C.J. Spiller, but you played Michael Bush instead of Darren McFadden. What's your thoughts on that?
I gotta agree with him on that. I mean, obviously, looking at it now, I wouldn't because you see, he would have gained 6 points off of it by playing McFadden. But you're talking about the Steelers' defense in the past, like probably 4 or 5 years. I mean, their defense has been like the best run defense in the league consistently, like every year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You gotta look at that when you're picking who you're gonna play. And with Matt Forte out, Michael Bush is gonna get all the carries pretty much in Chicago. So. But
Yeah, that's true.
A tough break. I mean, who would have thought Pittsburgh's defense was going to play that lousy?
We don't have the helmet here today, but Mark is on pace to be wearing the helmet. And if you get a chance to talk to him, ask him about what we are now calling the curse of the helmet, because Mark is the only person who has ever worn the helmet, and he is still winless this season. So we're thinking there could be some type of little curse put on that puts on you. Next, we got Steel Curtain against Bleed Green. Tom, this is your team as you get a victory last week against Bleed Green. Talk to me. Tell me what you thought about your team's performance.
Well, I was a little worried going into it. I mean, because he's got some pretty big names. LaShawn McCoy, Michael Vick's pretty potent when he's on fire. He's on fire. Percy Harvin, Victor Cruz. I mean, and my team hasn't really been playing very well at all. And then I started Kevin Smith because I thought he was going to start and didn't start. But like
Peyton Manning, 37 points. Good rebound week for him.
Yeah, definitely a big plus sign of that.
Mike Vick, when Peyton Manning puts 37 up and Bradford and Vick combined can only put up 18 points.
Well, here again, it comes down to quarterback play.
It does.
I mean, you have crappy quarterback play, you're probably not going to win.
Tell me what your thoughts are on Jordy Nelson at this point in the season.
Well, Aaron Rodgers hasn't really done anything this year. I mean, and just like Larry Fitzgerald, like not doing much. Like if you don't have a good quarterback throwing you the ball, not that Aaron Rodgers isn't a good quarterback, but he's not playing well right now. So until he rebounds and the offense gets going, Jordy Nelson really isn't going to be much of a factor, I don't think. But on the other hand, how do you sit a guy that put up, I think it was, I don't even remember how many, it was a ridiculous amount of touchdowns last year and yards. I mean, how do you sit a guy like that?
So we're through 4 weeks or excuse me, we're through 3 weeks of the 2012 season. We only have one undefeated team left, which is Running Mad. We still have one team who has yet to win. Tom, tell me what you feel about the parity in the league right now.
I think it's highly competitive. I mean, Running Mad could very easily score like 95 points this week and get destroyed by Bleed Green, who's only 1-2. I mean, you never know. It seems like everything's so competitive this year. Even Mark, who's 0-3, has been competitive for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean, like Gooch put up 95 points the week before and then put up 175 this week with a 10-point deduction for the waiver wire.
And just going back to last season, as 9-5 was the record that got you into the playoffs. That was the worst record that you could enter into the playoffs with. You know, what do you see as the record that's going to, you know, at this point? I know we're only 3 weeks in, but do you think 9-5 is still the record that you're gonna have to hit to get in the playoffs this year?
I would say that would be a safe bet because, like, I don't see anyone running away this year like how we had. How about them Cowboys last year had only one or two losses.
He ended up 11-3. That was his final
three
record.
losses.
Yeah.
And Steelers only had 2 losses last year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see anyone doing that again this year, as far as running away and just having an all-out, like, great team every week in and week out.
Right.
But I could be wrong. I mean,
I agree with you. I think the parity in the league is really good right now.
Which is good for the league, I think, because it makes it a lot more fun. Like,
right.
you know, you never know what's going to happen.
You know, let's just talk about how about them Cowboys for a second. Do you think that he can get into the playoffs sitting at 0-3 right now?
Oh yeah, I mean, with only having 3 losses, he could very well win. Probably, I mean, he could still lose 2 or 3 more games, I would say, and maybe possibly get into the playoffs as long as he, you know.
So Mark, just so you know, Tom still believes in you. Me, on the other hand, I'm saying it right now. I think you're done. I think you're out of the playoffs. I'm not trying to be mean, but 0-3 is one heck of a hole to crawl out of. But hey, you never know. It's fantasy football. Injuries happen.
Well, that's just it.
Players go down.
Running Mad could very well lose out. Not that I'm thinking it's going to happen, but
right.
As competitive as the league is, he could lose out the rest of the season and go 3
That's true.
13 or whatever.
You know, and Mark can be the first one that, you know, last year no one who started at 0-2 made the playoffs.
Well, Kevin started out 0-5 and
0-5 and won 6 in a row.
He almost made it in the playoffs.
That's true. So there is precedent for going on a streak. So that's it. That's it for the Week 3 recap. We'll be back in just a minute. We're back, and we're excited to announce that we have decided to put in a new portion of the show called Around the League. Today, we're going to talk to 2 different team owners. First, we have team owner Mark Reaver, who's on the phone with us right now. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Hey, we just want to get your thoughts on being 0-3 right now. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. That sucks.
Hey, Tom has a question here for you he wants to ask.
Okay.
I was just wondering, how are you feeling about the Aaron Rodgers trade you made right now? Trading Aaron Rodgers and the 4th pick for Calvin Johnson, Matt Schaub, and a 5th-round pick.
I still feel he's going to come through for me. Right now, I just got to go week by week. But I think it's going to work out for me in the long run with Aaron Rodgers. I just think they got to click.
Mark, I just want to finish off with asking you, what's your approach for the rest of the season?
Game by game, that's what I got to go by, because I'm 0-3, and that's not good. No one made the playoffs at 0-2, so 0-3 is not good.
And my final question, Mark, do you think you can still make the playoffs at 0-3?
It's going to be hard, but I'm going to try. That's all I can say. It's going to be hard.
All right, Mark. Thanks for being with us today. Tell your family we said hi.
Alrighty, I will.
All right, see you, man.
Yep, see you.
We also have on the line with us team owner from Team Piranha, Jared McAndrews. Hey, Jared, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. Hey, how you feeling after a good division win last week?
I'm feeling pretty good. My team still needs a little bit better quarterback play. I feel like a little more consistent, especially at the number two QB spot.
Yeah, Philip Rivers didn't do you any favors last week. Hey, Jared, Tom has a question for you.
What are your thoughts on Jamal Charles? Do you think he's going to be able to keep putting numbers up like that? I mean, obviously, realistically, he's not going to be able to put up 233 yards every week. But I mean, as far as you think he's going to be more consistent from here on out?
Yeah, I'm hoping he can put up at least top 10 running back numbers. I don't expect him to get close to 40 carries every week. Realistically, when he was premier back in the league, he was getting about 15 carries and around 17, 18 touches total game. So if he can get back to that, which it looks like he's healthy and ready to go after last week, I think I should be in good shape at that position.
Yeah, Jared, he definitely was the workhorse last week. As I think we figured out that he, by himself, scored as many points as both of my running backs and all three of my receivers. So a great performance by Jamal Charles. Our last question, Jared, because Tom and I cannot be biased when it comes to our prediction on our game this week. Who do you think will win between Tom and I this week, and why?
Oh, well, if you keep getting the quarterback play you've been getting with Ryan and Luck, you're going to be tough to beat. So I think I'll put my money on Danny.
Oh, hey, Jared, thanks for being on the show today, man.
All right, thank you.
Hey, have a good day.
You too, bye.
See ya.
Holy cow.
He picked Eagles Danny. That's right. It's pretty exciting. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We're going to be trying to do that every week, getting some insight from different people who can't be here. And that brings us to everyone's favorite part of the show, the Fat Sals of the Week. That's right. Tom and I have sat down. We have scoured Flea Flicker to find who we think are the fattest Sals in fantasy football. So let's get right to it. Rob Gronkowski, Tom, scoring 4.1 points last week. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that performance continues?
I don't know. That might go to show how important Aaron Hernandez is to drawing coverage away from him, or just spreading the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know exactly what you mean.
Because you take him out, and now all of a sudden Gronkowski didn't put up the numbers he's been putting up. So
do you think it was the Ravens' plan to take him out of the game?
it could be too. But like I said, I think when you don't have Aaron Hernandez on the field as well, then it kind of is like, it's like tunnel vision. Like, most of the balls are going to
Right.
Gronkowski, whereas when Hernandez is on the field, you have another tight end to worry about.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to consistently see this, but for this week, Rob Gronkowski, you are a fat Sal. Moving on, everyone's favorite number one quarterback. Just kidding, he's not even a number one quarterback. Josh Freeman, who put up a miserable 8.43 points this week, helping Killer Pitts lose to Running Med. What's your thoughts on him?
Well, I actually had him at the beginning of the season, and against everyone else's judgment, saying how he's going to be comeback player of the year and, go back to what he had done in 2010, I believe
Yeah.
it was. I traded him away for Peyton Manning because I kind of had a hunch he wasn't going to be what he was.
Yeah, let's talk about that trade for a second. If Peyton Manning's on Killer Pitt's team right now, he has a W in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And in my opinion, which it's only my opinion, I think both games that Killer Pitts lost, Josh Freeman played terrible.
Yes. Yes, he did.
So I'm going to go out on a limb, Kevin. Josh Freeman is your Achilles heel, and Josh Freeman, you are a fat Sal. Let's move on. We have Demaryius Thomas as our next fat Sal of the week, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit because for the first 2 weeks he put up great numbers, and in a game where you would think that Peyton Manning would need a downfield threat to help loosen up that Houston defense, he gets a lousy 34 yards receiving. Tom, 34 yards. Demaryius Thomas didn't basically do anything. What's your thoughts on Demaryius Thomas?
See, I don't know. I have Eric Decker on my team, and I thought coming into the season they had said, the chemistry between Thomas and Peyton Manning wasn't really there. and it was there between Decker
And
and Manning. But like the first 2 weeks of the season, there was nothing really between Decker and Manning, and it was all Demaryius Thomas. So this week's kind of like 180-degree turnarounds here. Like I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, there's kind of a theory in fantasy football. First time's luck, second time you got a trend, and third time that's how someone's always going to perform. So Thomas had 2 good weeks. He has a bad week here, and he's obviously a fat Sal in my opinion. So we'll see what he does next week. Tom, give us 2 of your fat Sals of the week.
Well, I actually have 2 under the same account here for running mad, having Cam Newton and Tony Romo going for about 27 points combined.
Wow.
Like, to me, it doesn't get much worse than that, really, for those two quarterbacks of that caliber. I mean,
What do you think's going on with Cam Newton? Because he's had 2 out of the 3 weeks he has kind of underperformed. And after last year, everyone had all these high expectations. He was running mad's probably number 1 keeper, I would think.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Do you think Cam Newton's going to come out of it, or do you think it's the sophomore slump?
Could be the sophomore slump. That's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, and we can only hope.
Because even last year with the numbers he put up, like, it was great for fantasy, but he still really didn't. They went, 4 for 12?
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, they didn't.
Like,
they weren't even close to playoffs.
And to me, if you're not winning games, you're not going to continue to put up great numbers.
And then Tony Romo. Okay, let's see. Interception, 2 fumbles, and 2 fumbles lost. There's 3 turnovers for Tony Romo in last week's game. He's always been known to be turnover prone. Is he a quarterback that
Well, I don't always agree with that. Like when people say about him being like, turnover prone, because last year total everyone gave him a bad rap, and I think total he only had 6
I think last
or
year
10 interceptions total, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions if I recall. To me, that's not bad for a quarterback. The thing that seems to come with him is they come at terrible times.
Yeah, he's like, some quarterbacks like Eli drive you down the field for a touchdown with 2 minutes to go. And then some quarterbacks like Tony with 2 minutes to go will throw the pick that cost you the game.
Exactly.
So he just seems to have an inopportune knack for throwing interceptions or getting fumbles or something stupid happening.
I mean, as long as you're not a Cowboys fan, you just have him for fantasy. I don't see him being. I look for him to.
I actually think he's going to have more points than Cam Newton.
I was just going to say that. I look for him to bounce back, and he'll be. Honestly, I think he could be a top 10 quarterback this year in fantasy.
Well, everybody, those are our fat Sals of the week. We want to jump right in and grab our studs of the week. And we got to start off with the man, Jamaal Charles. 200. I want to check this out so I get the statistics correct. 233 yards rushing, 55 yards receiving, a combined total of 288 yards. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, like I asked Jared earlier in the show, that's pretty well ridiculous for somebody to be able to do that against an NFL defense. They ought to be embarrassed, I would say, personally.
You think Jamaal Charles is back?
I don't know. That's just the question is, can he keep, like I said earlier, realistically, he's not going to put up 233 yards every week.
Correct.
But if he can consistently put up, 100 yards every week, that'd be great. But I don't, that's just it. After 1 week, it's hard to tell if somebody's going to continue to do that.
When you see Jamaal Charles going off like that, how does that make you feel? Knowing you drafted him number 1 overall last year and he got hurt.
Well, I have
that could be what he was doing. That he could have done that for you.
I have a terrible hatred for that man.
Yeah, I agree.
Of that. And it wasn't even his fault. But
moving on, AJ Green, wide receiver for Cincinnati Bengals. He had amazing numbers. Again, this is for running mad. I actually think that he put running mad right into a victory. 39.4 points, 183 yards receiving, 11 yards rushing. If anyone watched the game, they saw the first play of the game went for 72 yards. Mohamed Sanu threw him a touchdown pass. He's consistently putting up good numbers. Is he just going to keep getting better, or do you think he'll level off at some point?
I don't see a sophomore slump for him.
No, definitely not.
I'm pretty sure he's the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he keeps producing every week for running mad.
I think he'll be as good as Andy Dalton lets him be. That's what I think, so personally.
Who do you think can throw further, Mohamed Sanu or Andy Dalton? My bad, sorry. The third person we have here for studs of the week, Ben Roethlisberger, and I'm sure that Mark probably wants to flip out, but Roethlisberger was the #1 fantasy quarterback last week, putting up 53.4 points, threw for 4 touchdowns, 384 passing yards. You're a Steelers fan. What do you think about Big Ben's performance?
Be great if they would have won.
You can see the reason they didn't win?
I wouldn't say that. Anytime your defense allows you to allows the other team to score, what was it, 37 or 41
34, 31.
Anytime that happens, you can't blame it on anything else, really.
Yeah, and I know, last year Big Ben in our fantasy league was not relevant because he was on West York Bulldogs team. And
he was on the bench, I think.
He was on the bench, or he was just sitting somewhere else or whatever because the owner was garbage. But in this case, he's performing for Dirty Bit and actually carrying him to victories now. So, to Dirty Bit, good keeper pick at the beginning of the year. Tom, give me 2 of your studs of the week.
Well, my first one would have to be Joe Flacco.
The Flacco.
It doesn't get much, aside from Ben Roethlisberger, it doesn't get much better than that.
Right. Flacco, if you guys remember, played against New England on Sunday night. Put up 43.77 fantasy points.
382 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You can't ask for much more than that out of the guy.
And that's a good bounce back week for Flacco after having a terrible game against Philadelphia. I guess the question for Flacco is, can he be consistent like that?
Being a Pittsburgh fan, I hope not. But I see Baltimore doing really well this year, which in turn would mean Joe Flacco, I think, will do really well this year.
Yeah, I guess the question I have for you, for being a Pittsburgh fan, is do you think the Steelers have taken a step back this year? Because their defense does not look dominant, and when Palomelo was out there, they still got scored on by Denver.
Well, they didn't really get any pressure on Peyton Manning, and I think you put James Harrison outside on the edge, even if he doesn't necessarily get sacks, that's in the back of somebody's mind.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, I got to block this guy, or wait a minute, he's going to hit me blindside. The quarterback. I think that'll be a big.
Who wins that division, do you think?
Baltimore.
Baltimore's going to win it?
Yep.
Man, that's a tough division this year. Cincinnati putting up a ton of points, Baltimore putting up a ton of points, and Pittsburgh defense not being what it was.
I think they'll finish second.
Do you?
Yep.
You heard it right here. Tom Lemon saying Pittsburgh will finish second in that division. Who's your other stud of the week?
I actually have the Chicago Bears defense from my team putting up 24 points, which they had 2 interceptions, 6 sacks, and a defensive touchdown. And I didn't get any points for it, but they only allowed 6 points the whole entire game.
Right. So let's take a look at that. I don't know did you just go through all that they did or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
6 sacks. Let's think about that. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions. And in the way that we score in this league, that's exactly what you want. We no longer give any points for the number of points that a defense allows, but they actually have to do something. So, great performance by Chicago Bears. In fact, that may be the highest point total for a defense this year.
Pretty close, I think. Compared to what I was getting before, that pretty much was big for me. If I can continue to do that.
Yeah, and they've looked strong.
That'll be big.
They look strong even against. They didn't give up a lot of points against Green Bay. A lot of that was their offense was terrible. So
yeah, because they had I think 15 fantasy points the week before against Green Bay, and for some reason I had them on the bench and had the Steelers defense in, which got me 4 points.
Yeah, let's see. Steelers defense this week would have got you 4, so good move there. That's it this week for the studs of the week. We'll be back in a minute to finish up with the Week 4 preview. Welcome back to Week 4 preview. Tom, the game of the week. the Steel Curtain versus Eagles Danny. That's right, Tom versus me. I'm not scared. I'm going to come into his own house and show him who's going to win. Tom, what's your thought on this matchup?
Well, obviously, I hope I win.
That's good. If you said you wanted to lose, I'd have an issue with that.
Here again, I gotta say, I think it's gonna come down to quarterback play. I mean, because our teams are kind of similar in a way. I mean, we don't have like star-studded lineups here by any means, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like, nobody's really been completely consistent all year on any one of our teams.
I think, I don't know what the final news will be on Matt Stafford. I don't even know if he's going to play this week with his leg injury.
Well,
Sounds like
if he doesn't play, I would have to say I'd give you a big edge.
But who knows? I mean, Kevin Cutler playing at Miami, he played good against the Eagles defense, which I have to say is better than Miami.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get Matt Stafford numbers, but honestly, I don't think Matt Stafford's put up as good as numbers as he did last year.
He hasn't.
So it's been a little bit disappointing from a fan standpoint.
Actually, with the numbers he's I'm lucky to be at 2-1.
Yeah. I'm looking at this, and I don't even care what the points say because it's a division game. Last year, I beat Tom the first matchup in the year, and I mean that was a bigger margin. But the second game of the year was the one that really hurt as we got closer to the playoffs.
By what, 0.2 points?
Yeah, he beat me by like 0.02 points or 0.03 points. Again, another narrow victory that kept me out of the playoffs. Tom and I are obviously friends, but we're also rivals when it comes to fantasy football. So there's definitely some added incentive from both of us to win this game. I'm looking at it. I think bye weeks are coming into play this week. Let's talk about that. So I don't have Andrew Luck this week. I'm gonna have to probably start Jake Locker.
So that's a tough matchup going against Houston.
That's a tough matchup, yeah. I mean, I could go with Russell Wilson, but he's playing St. Louis. You don't know. It's a division game. It could be wild and crazy, or it could be, a running game up and down the field. I mean, for you have to play Danny Amendola because Antonio Brown's out. Or that's what you're currently showing as on your lineup.
Yeah.
So, buys are coming into play this week, which is, it shows your depth, I guess I should say,
or lack thereof. Your team can't just be 8 people strong. You have to have some depth to your team. So currently, Flea Flicker has a projection for this game at 186.7 for Tom and 178.83. But as we've said many weeks in a row now, Flea Flicker doesn't mean jack because they don't even know what they're talking about half the time. Yep.
But I want this victory, Tom.
Well, I'm not going to let you have it.
I feel like I almost need this victory too, because my thought was always that my depth would help me get through the season and pick up some victories. Where last year I lost because I didn't have depth. So
I was happy with my depth at the beginning of the season, and as the season is getting underway here, not quite as happy with it. I mean, obviously, Kevin Smith not being the starter in Detroit is really going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Titus Young isn't really having the output I was hoping he would have.
Maybe we'll catch a Hail Mary again or something. All right, Tom, your prediction. Who you got winning this game?
Naturally, I guess I'm going to have to go with my team if Matthew Stafford plays. If he plays, I feel like that'll help me out. And I feel like Steven Jackson and Marshawn Lynch, I think that game's going to stay on the ground.
Yep.
For the most part, so I feel like that's going to help me out too.
I'm going to have to say that I win, and I think it's just going to be a complete trouncing. I think that after last year's debacle and you beating me, I think my team has something to prove. I'm going to say I win. I'm going to say my key guy for this week is going to be Ryan Matthews. If he comes back and is able to play to form, he's going to take me to victory.
Well, you better call your team up and give them a talking to them.
I already got them on speed dial. I got this Skype thing down, people. Next game that we're going to talk about, Team Piranha versus Team Titan. We have a team that seems to be a team of destiny in Team Piranha. and a team that upset Semper Fi last week. Tom, can Team Titan make it 2 upsets in a row?
I don't really see it happening. I mean, I didn't see it happening last week either. But I mean, Team Titan isn't a terrible team or anything. I don't think.
Right.
I think Team Piranha's a very strong team until we get into like the heat of bye weeks and stuff here.
Yeah. He has 1 bye this week, which is
Mike
Wallace. But he has Akeem Nicks if Akeem comes back, which it sounds like he's going to.
Because he's not very deep at the running back position, the quarterback position, or really, I mean, the wide receiver position as far as that goes. I mean, I think his starting lineup is one of the best.
Yeah, it's the best.
If not the best.
Yeah.
Starting lineup out of anybody's. But I think when we get into bye weeks, but they haven't happened yet, so I think he's going to run away with it on Team Titan.
Yeah, one of the things that the Flea Flicker projections aren't showing is Willis McGahee doesn't currently have any projected points. And I think if he plays, this game will be a lot closer. If he starts and plays a full game, this will be a close matchup. And I think that Team Titan does have a chance to upset Team Piranha. If he's not making waiver wire violations and getting a 20-point deduction this week, he has a chance. With that being said, if Willis McGahee doesn't play for this matchup this week, he doesn't have anybody sitting on his bench that can come in. And I mean, Sean Green's playing against a San Francisco defense
which
that's
is
stellar.
a definite no. I mean, you wouldn't want to play him. Even
And then
if
he
you
has
had
David
to.
Wilson, who, Tom Coughlin has in the doghouse from the Week 1 fumble. And I had him. I dropped him. So I think Team Titan's going to have to try and find someone in the waiver wire or during waiver claims if McGahee can't go.
Well, if he picks up 3 running backs, 1 out of 3 ought to be good.
Yeah, I mean, statistically. If he picks up 3, it'll be good, but you might as well just not pick any up because, again, waiver wire violations. Tom, who do you have ultimately winning this matchup?
Oh, like I said earlier, I think Team Piranha is going to run away with this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at the defense. The defenses that Team Titan's playing. I got Team Piranha, but I think it's going to be close. I don't think Team Piranha is going to have quite a high week as he did last week.
I think it's going to be, as you would say, a trouncing.
Yeah, a trouncing. Moving on, Killer Pitts versus How About Them Cowboys in a division game. I would say it's a game between 2 teams that think they're better than what their record shows. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would say.
Let's take a look. Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning projected to have good weeks again. Robert Griffin plays against Tampa Bay this week. It looks like he's sticking with Josh Freeman. What's your thoughts on this matchup, Tom?
As far as a whole, or as far as Josh Freeman against Washington?
Josh Freeman, that just baffles me.
Yeah, but
can you not make a move to get rid of that guy?
How do you play Blaine Gabbert instead? I mean, he hasn't been
against Cincinnati. I might.
I don't know. I say I'd have to. Me personally, I'd have to stick with Freeman another week or 2, just to see. Because with Freeman, the upside's there. I feel like, even though I don't, like I said earlier in the show, not to contradict myself, I feel like the upside's there more so than Blaine Gabbert going against Cincinnati. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
could be right.
Playing against Washington at home. It looks like they're playing at home. Washington's defense got tore up last week. Maybe it is a good play to play Freeman this week, but I don't think ultimately he's.
I wouldn't say it's a good play, but I would say
if you have no other option,
what he has to work with, that's what I would go with.
Yeah, looking down through here, I mean the prediction's 193 to 168. I can't imagine Mark going 0-4. So I'm picking How About Them Cowboys in an upset.
I was gonna say the same. I think Aaron Rodgers is against New Orleans' terrible defense.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to have to play well. And if he doesn't play well this week, then I don't think he's going to. Because, I mean, New Orleans' defense is probably about as lousy as it's going to get, don't you think? I mean.
Yeah, I'm pretty much, ticked off with him after Jamal Charles goes for, 50 points fantasy-wise.
The only thing that, well, I don't know. I guess.
It's an even matchup, but I got Mark just because I feel like I have to. Like I feel like he can't go 0-4. He's not a bad fantasy manager at all. So
No, and with I think Greg Jennings coming back into
Yeah.
it too, with Aaron Rodgers, if he plays him, because right now he doesn't have him in. But I mean, Mark does have a fairly strong team. Looking at it on paper,
They
It's
just gotta score,
it's
they're just
gotta-
not scoring.
Yeah, it's just got to work itself out.
Mark, we're pulling for you, and Kevin, you probably should win, but we're pulling for Mark. So next matchup, we got Dirty Bit versus Semper Fi. Division game. Semper Fi coming off a disappointing loss to Team Titan. We still don't know who Semper Fi's second running back will be in this matchup. Looks to me like
He only has one.
he has one, and then Beanie Wells. My thought, it looks like, oh yeah, Reggie Bush went on the IR, so waivers go through tomorrow, but I'd have to say that he's picking up a running back on waivers.
I
We're
would hope
hoping
so.
to. I think maybe Tashard Choice may go here because Spiller and Fred Jackson are out, and he's running for Buffalo. Maybe that's a pickup, but what's your thoughts on this matchup?
I think Dirty Bit's going to take a big hit with Ben Roethlisberger on a bye week.
You're not a believer in Christian Ponder after the win against San Francisco?
No, I'm not saying that, but I don't think he's going to put up Ben Roethlisberger numbers. I mean, because he's been tearing it up so far this year. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying Dirty Bit's not going to be competitive or not going to win for that matter. I just think that's definitely not going to help him.
Yeah, I look at this matchup as pretty even, and I think the even part of it is the fact that both of Semper Fi's quarterbacks is going against normally good defensive teams, which the Jets still look like they can play some defense. Green Bay's defense has played better the last two games, so I think that's the equalizer in this whole matchup. And then who's going to go in that second running back spot? Who knows?
I feel like another thing that's not going to help is Reggie Wayne is on a bye week this week for Dirty Bit,
Yeah, he's playing Mario Manningham in place of him.
which I don't see that being a very. I mean, it's not a bad move on his part, but I don't see that really being a big time play. Like that's not
Yeah.
going to help him at all.
Looks to me like he could have either played him or Stephen Hill. So, who you picking?
I guess I'm gonna have to go with Dirty Bit anyway, even though I just kind of like picked him apart.
You
'Cause
just
I'm-
think that some of these guys are going to come through?
Well, I'm liking Baltimore's defense. I mean, Steve Smith usually puts up numbers. Minnesota going against, or Adrian Peterson, sorry, going against Detroit's lousy defense. As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
like, they don't seem to be stopping much of anybody here lately. I see him going for a big day.
So you're going with Dirty Bit. I'm going to go with Semper Fi, and Justin's one of my really good friends. Obviously, most of the people in this league I do know pretty well, but Semper Fi, I think he has a good team. He has a consistent team. I think he's looking for a receiver yet. I don't think Nate Washington is necessarily the answer as his third wide receiver. I think he will find some. There's enough people in our waiver bin, being a 10-team league, where he'll find another running back that can fill in for at least the week. And as much as you like Baltimore's defense, I like Seattle's defense because they just got 8 sacks on Green Bay on Monday
No,
night.
Seattle has a good defense.
So, and they're playing St. Louis, who hasn't been, a beacon of good offense.
No, not at all.
So, for the same reason, but for a different defense, I'm going to go with
I'm
Semper
looking
Fi.
for Baltimore because I look for them to try and shut the run down, which will force that, what is his name, Whedon,
Yeah, Brandon Whedon.
to throw the ball, which will lead to more turnovers, I would say. I mean,
Yeah. Last matchup of the week. Bleed Green versus Running Mad. Running Mad is our last undefeated team at 3-0. Bleed Green had a really bad week last week, only scoring 92 points against Tom. Looks like some lineup changes have been made by Bleed Green, as Darren Sproles is out at the number 2 running back position, and Mikael LaShore is in there, and also Looks like Jay Cutler has been put back in as a number 2 quarterback, and Sam Bradford has been benched. On the other side here, let's just check this out.
It's the same.
It looks like, okay, there was an injury update on Julio Jones. It looks like he has a hand injury, but it says it's a cut. For some reason, it says he's out. You know, I think he'll play on Sunday. I'm not quite sure why that says that, but it looks like, you know, Running Mad doesn't have any buys that he's dealing with this week, surprisingly enough. So his whole roster's intact. Is Running Mad going 4-0?
I don't know. I look for, obviously, Arian Foster to have a big game. AJ Green, and if Julio Jones plays, clearly I think the two of them will put up good points again.
Mm-hmm. I gotta be honest with you, Running Mad's gonna win this game, I think, but I think it's gonna be extremely close. I just think he has too much firepower. Arian Foster, Cam Newton, AJ Green. If Julio Jones has a, you know, if he even shows up and plays half decent, I got Running Mad by about 10 points in this game.
The only thing that worries me is, I know I was saying how Tony Romo I think is going to be a top 10 quarterback, but Chicago's defense is tough.
Yeah.
And I want to say Atlanta's defense has been playing pretty well this year.
They've turned the ball over a lot. You know, 3 picks on Manning. Last week, Phillip Rivers only scored, the Chargers only scored 3 points.
Yeah, I think Cam
So I
Newton
think
could
that's
have
a
a
good
rough
observation
could
there.
have a rough day of it. That's the only thing that would even show concern. Otherwise, I would say Running Mad would run away with it. But
Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, Bleed Green does have Houston's defense, but unless he puts up a performance like the Bears did last week, I don't see a reason why that would matter. So
yeah,
I gotta go with Running Mad.
yeah, me too.
I don't think the loss is coming this week, but there again, he doesn't have any bye week or any buys this week to deal with. So
He's another one that I personally feel that bye weeks aren't going to be in his favor too much.
right.
I mean, with the exception of Jeremy Maclin on his bench. I mean, he has Michael Turner too, but who knows when he's going to go out and get drunk and wreck his car or something, or speed. So, I mean, you can't always count on him anymore either, apparently. Even though he didn't get suspended or put in jail or anything of the nature.
Right.
Which is kind of irritating, but...
Tom, before we go, give me your top 3 teams in our league right now. Give me your power rankings, just off what you've seen to this point.
Obviously, I'd say you have to go with Running Mad being the best team. I would probably say Team Piranha being the second best team. And then I would say it's a tie, like a 3-way tie for the third between Killer Pitts, myself, and your team.
Yeah, it's like the water gets a little murky at number 3 there, doesn't it?
I would say the 3 of us will be duking it out for that 4th and final playoff spot this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your first 2, and I agree that when you get to the 3-4 spot, when you're looking at the wild card, even though we got a couple weeks to go, you know, we're going into week 4. There's still 10 weeks to go before playoffs start. The number, like that little middle ground there, I think we have 2 teams that are clearly above the rest.
Well, and I just forgot, like, you can't really...
Fi's there.
Semper Fi, even Dirty Bed, Bleed... I don't know. I don't even know what to say after the top 2. And even Team Piranha has the same record as you and I. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
And you beat him already, so he's beatable.
so to put him up there ahead of it, I would say, I don't know, I'd have to rephrase that, I guess, and say Running Mad's the top team. And from there on out, I mean, sorry, Mark, but everybody else besides Mark, I would say, could be in the running for the 2nd and 3rd spots. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. That's what we were talking earlier about, like, everything being so competitive.
I think as the weeks go on, though, we will begin to see some separation between teams. I think bye week, players being out during bye weeks will help separate it. Depth is going to show itself as important in the next couple weeks.
What are your thoughts on this?
On my top 3?
Yeah.
I have to go Running Mad, Semper Fi, and then I think it's a really close race because Semper Fi has proven to put up a lot of points already. His luck has been really bad as far as, last week playing against Team Titan. So people didn't show up, but all in all, his team's good. So I got Running Mad, Semper Fi, and then, probably Team Piranha, I'd have to say, because I think Team Piranha's starting lineup is one of the toughest. And if you have to go against his team without injuries, without buys, I think he's got the edge every time. So
That's what I said earlier. He's got ridiculously good starting. Like, it's just a matter of when bye weeks come, if he can keep it up or flop.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just looking at the schedule here real quick. I think the matchup we all want to see is coming in week 9. It's Running Mad against Team Piranha. I think that'll be a game when we're able to see, hopefully, 2 teams with their starting lineups. I don't know what it's going to look like, but hopefully if they both are able to have their starting lineups, we'll be able to see 2, like what we would say is the 2 best starting lineups going head-to-head, and maybe we'll get some clarity about who the top team is. But for now, let's take a quick look right before we get ready to go at the divisions. Tom, you're leading the Bill Walsh division right now at 2-1. You have a 2-0 division record, but that's all changing after this week, buddy, because I'm taking you down. Team Piranha.
Word for it.
Team Piranha is in second at 2-1. He has a 2-1 division record. And then in the Mike Ditka division, we have Running Mad at 3-0. And look at Dirty Bit hanging in there, 2-1. He's saying, I'm not going anywhere. And, I think Dirty Bit's a legitimate team. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the end of the year in the playoffs competing. And, you never know. You can vouch for last year. I kind of see Dirty Bit as a little bit of view from last year where no one saw him coming. They always looked at him like, he might be able to win, but really everyone else's team looked better, and then all of a sudden made his way into the playoffs and got hot. So
I'm going for the same thing this year.
yeah, well,
Nothing flashy, not a good team.
well, for 2011 league champion Tom Lemon, I'm Danny Ferry. This is Dairy Boys Live. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. I don't know where we'll be at, but you better believe that we're going to have another show next week. So we'll see you later. Peace out.